Hi everyone, Kelvin here from London. Going to talk about my favourite subject, buying second-hand speakers, how to be successful at it. I have done tons of it, I've got to tell you. First thing I want to say, this is a bit of a minefield, yes? And you've got to minimise the amount of mines you tread on. That's the objective. A lot of old speakers have had a hard time, and people have had massive parties and they don't care and been blasting them away. You can probably tell, you really want speakers to look in good condition. You want them to have been loved and cared for. So if they're all tatty, chances are no one's been caring about them, and they've been blasting them and whatever, and that the visual state of them is pretty good judge. Pretty good, I would say. Second point I want to make is certain speakers have drivers that you can get. You can buy these things second hand. Here's some drivers. That's a super common B110. What do we have here? Celestion Ditton 1300. These are the Mark II with this chamber on here. Super common. They're in those Bowers and Wilkins behind. Even these speakers here, that's not uncommon. Philips driver. I don't think this is uncommon either. And this isn't, I think, peerless. Point is, if you get a really good pair of old speakers, now they're not bad, but these are great. For instance, I would beg, borrow and steal, do anything possible to get these speakers working good. If a tweeter is broken on here, to me this is not a big deal. You really it's really worth getting a speaker like this, even spending money on it, getting someone to refurb it, recap it, change the drivers if you can't do it yourself. But something like this, this is such a class speaker. Bowers and Wilkins DM4. If this bass driver isn't working, there were tons of those made. You will be able to find them. And, you might, if you can't connect it yourself, I would still get someone else to do it, because certain speakers are just fantastic. I still see these going fairly cheap, and it genuinely shocks me when I see these for sale for £100. I feel like buying them myself, which is obviously I don't need them. But, if you bought two pairs of those for £150, you're probably going to get a functioning pair out of them. And you'll have spares. This speaker will be £1,500 if they made it new. And everyone will be saying it's fantastic, because it is. So, that's a speaker totally hits the mark. Now, I just want to say something about like certain other famous speakers. Let's talk about the Wharfedale Denton, Wharfedale Linton, which I experienced when I was very young. I actually made a pair of Lintons as a kit. I didn't like them very much. They are famous. They're only famous because they're very widespread and people had them as a teenager. They weren't very good. They were just entry-level speaker. In England, we would call it like a Ford Cortina. That's a cheapish car that everyone had. It wasn't a great car, but everyone had it and everyone knows it. But that doesn't mean it's a great thing. Like these DM4s, not well known. They're great things, not so mass produced. They would have been much more expensive. A Wharfedale Denton would have been probably half this price. I bet it was, if not more, if not less, So to me, this is like a Maserati. You restore it, you keep it, do everything you can to make it work, because it really delivers. And only certain speakers hit the mark 100%, same as today. Not every speaker is a great speaker. Now, let's just look at these. Let me just say, that tweeter I know that's a gorgeous tweeter. Sonaudax. I believe it's a Sonaudax, but it's very easily visually identifiable. You'll see it around in many vintage things. It sounds fantastic. Whenever you see that tweeter, the tweeter is going to sound good. The top end will always sound good. So there's a lot you can do by just knowing what are the great drivers. And similarly, if you hear a modern speaker or an old speaker and it has a certain tweeter and you don't like that top end, chances are you hear that, you'll see that tweeter in other places. Chances are you won't like it again because you can't change the essential characteristics of a tweeter. I mean, let's say you were buying those speakers, these ones, which are nice, by the way. Just a simple way to check if everything's working, you know, in a basic form is you just go up, put your hand over this tweeter, listen to this tweeter, put your hand over this tweeter, listen to this one, and you can do the same for the mid-range. I mean, it's just going to tell you if they're working. It won't tell you that they're functioning perfectly, but you'll know if they're working, which is a damn good sign. I mean, mid-range drivers, when you put your ear to them, they always sound squawky. Well, they are squawky. In fact, it was called a squawker, wasn't it? I've just realised that. But they never sound very sweet when you listen to the mid-range. So, you know, expect that, you know. Okay. So also let's talk about the second-hand world of speakers, which I look at all the time. What you do see is, you know, and this is misleading, I would say, is people have found some old speakers which they've dragged out of the bottom of a river and are utterly destroyed and old and completely uncared for. Literally look like, you know, like they've been in a river. And people still think they can get a load of money for these. This is pure hope. You know, an old destroyed speaker, people want to put £300 on it because they think somehow it's like an antique. And it's old, the older and the more dingy it is, the better it is. This is no good. No one buys them. That's the thing. No one buys those speakers. So you might see all these prices, think, wow, this vintage stuff is so expensive and it looks bad. No one's buying it most of the time, particularly when it's all messed up. They're just hopeful people. They're just hoping. They might not know anything about hi-fi. They've seen some prices. They just try their luck. So I was just thinking, where can you go to find the good vintage speakers? And you know what? The best thing I could think of is my channel. Honestly, I mean, it is. Only, you know, I'm only talking about the things I know about, but I don't think anyone else has really done as much work and time on vintage speakers than I have, and I can't think of a better place. I mean, there are other channels, of course, you know, and you do your own research, but there's a lot on my channel. And if you get one of those gems, there are a few gems about, they are so worth having and they're worth spending the money on. The build quality is there. The quality is there. You know, certain things I would love them, restore them, hang on to them for, you know, for grim death because they're that good. And, you know, you might not be a risk taker or, you know, and I don't blame people for wanting to get a guaranteed pair of speakers. It's a fair point. Myself, as an insane bargain hunter, I kind of have to buy the second-hand things because I'm just always looking for that bargain. But you might get something for £200. It will sound as good as £1,000 or more. Or more. I mean, really. I've had some speakers I've bought for £40. Those MA4s, I got two pairs. One were £40, one was something like £60. The tweeters were broken on one of them, but I got them again. What a bargain. Spectacular sound. Big, gorgeous sound. So the bargains are there. You've got to do the research, pick the gems, and then try to restore them. That would probably be the thing I would say that would definitely work, you know, because there's a lot of nonsense out there. If I think about 70s and 80s, I hated metal dome tweeters. They just didn't work. They were too harsh. They got better in time and now they are fine. But, you know, there were tons of speakers with metal dome tweeters which just sounded awful if you ask me. So, you know, there aren't that many great speakers. That's probably a big thing to say. There's tons of speakers. Most times they didn't put the love into it. So yeah, take a risk if you want, but I feel it's like, take something good, nurture it back to its glory, and some speakers are just fantastic and unbeatable to this day, which shocks me too, why they can't make them better. Okay, that's another video. All right, that's it. Loads of videos on my channel. Thanks, bye for now.